All right, it's May 25th, bringing you a Lake of the Ozarks fishing report brought to you by James and Denise Dill Guide Service here on the Ozarks. If we can ever help you down here at the Ozarks for any reason, like we always say, fishing, hotels, service, restaurants, whatever, please feel free to shoot us a text or an email and get a hold of us, and we'll do whatever we can to help you out. So we'll get into the fishing report. It's been a few weeks. We went on a little trip, a nice getaway, but we're back and we're back at it. We've been back for a little over a week. I had a chance to get out on the water quite a bit, both Denise and I. For the last week, we've both been out pretty much every day. And so we got a good grip on what's going on now, which is a lot of different things. We've still got fish spawning. We've got some that have just come off the beds, and I'm starting to catch some post spawners too. Let's see, yesterday we kind of on a morning trip we concentrated on a few things, and then we kind of targeted some post spawners out on some drops, ledges, and points, and we caught a few like that. Nothing great yet, not a real big amount of them out there. Just yet. We're a little bit behind this year, and we're going to have a little different conditions this year. Kind of talked about how fishing's been different for the last couple years because the lake's kind of changing. Maybe when they pull current or don't pull current, lake level, freezing, not freezing. A lot of different things have been going on the last several years that I've really been paying attention to. And I think that's why a lot of these fish are, they're just setting up and feeding different. Just for an example, the lake level is 658.24. So that's, I don't know, we'll call it 2 foot below full pool. And Truman Lake is 706, I believe, 706 and a little bit. So it's right at normal pool. It's not high like we're used to in the spring this time of year. Usually by now, Truman's creeping up. It's 10, 12, 15, even sometimes 20 foot high going into June. And then, once things settle down, then they start running it through the Ozarks, which gives us a lot of current, which really pushes these fish out away from spawning areas, out towards points, ledges, a lot quicker than if there's no current. And that's kind of where we're at now. They're running 900 cubic foot, 1,000 cubic foot, which is nothing. So that's not enough to position these fish or move them or set them up differently on these points or ledges. Kind of like we look forward to, late May all through June. We really look forward to that current to get them out there and just have a blast with these, big worms, big crankbaits, big swim baits, things like that. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen in the next 2 to 4 weeks. If we don't get any rain, there's not going to be any current in the lake. So we're going to see how that changes the fish and how they feed and how they set up, compared to how we've been, for the last several years. I mean, I can't remember a year at this point in May, late May, that the lake's, a couple foot low and Truman's at normal pool. So we'll see what happens here in the next, couple weeks as far as that goes and how the fish are setting up and feeding. So, but besides that, I'll just kind of bring you up to date what's going on, what we've done, what we've seen in this last week and a half since we've been back. So, like I said, water temp is 72 to 76. The water is very clear, extremely clear. I'm not going to say Table Rock clear, say from the toll bridge to the dam, up the gravel a little bit. We fished, I started yesterday, we left out of Shawnee, and we headed towards the dam, hit a lot of different areas, and of course, the closer we got to the dam, I think I went as far as Hawaiian Islands yesterday, and when my guys would catch a fish, a couple might jump up, with the net, the better fish. And I'm looking down and I could see those fish down there 10 foot down. And that's just kind of unheard of here at the Ozarks this time of year. Usually, like I said, usually we've had a lot of rain, there's current, and the water's got some decent color. Where, I'm looking at these fish 8-10 foot down, I can see the baits in the fish, kind of like what we're used to down at Table Rock this last month or so. But it's just kind of different, kind of neat seeing. One thing I'll touch on that I knew it, but I can really see it this year. Some of these little ledges, like these bluff ledges, I call them. I kind of pulled up the one yesterday, and there's a nice ledge comes down, and about, 8 foot down, 8 foot from the surface, I could see a ledge and I could see pea gravel down there on this ledge. And I knew them fish would spawn on there. That's the only thing I could figure out when I caught them in the years past. But now yesterday, I could literally see beds, down there. You can see fish down there on the beds still. So there's still some spawning going on. It's going to be the late spawn, what we call it. I didn't check on the moon phase to know when we're going to have the new moon again, or full moon, because that'll be kind of our last wave. But either way, with the water really clear, I'm seeing a lot of stuff visible in the water that I'd never seen before. You just kind of assumed it was there. But anyways, it's kind of neat to see the difference, the different conditions this year and how it's affecting fishing. Obviously, to me, those type of fish, those main lake fish, are a little deeper than I would expect them right now. We're catching 8 to 12 foot, on the bottoms. I'm throwing, a variety of baits. Obviously, our shaky heads is huge. Right now, throwing a combination of different shaky heads. We're throwing a 1/4 ounce crocodile shaky head. Nothing new other than the new crocodile, like the shorty we have. The shorty we used a lot in the winter, just a small finesse bait. But now there's the new 6.5 inch one. And this has been a pretty big player here lately for us on trips mainly. I'll be honest, I'm still throwing a little shorty, getting a lot of bites on that. But we're kind of starting to make that transition into some bigger baits this time of year. Like normally we would throw a mag finesse bait, or the finesse worm, which is, probably 8 inches long. Where this is kind of a combination of a finesse bait and then more of a big power worm style bait. But this one has all kind of movement in the water and just looks real natural falling in the water here. What I have? Yeah, here I got one rigged up here. This is one I cut off from yesterday's trip. We caught several fish on this, and I've got it either rigged on a 3/16 shaky football head or a 1/4 shaky football head. You can also throw it on just your standard 1/4 ounce. This is actually a 5/16 shaky pro head. This is the longer shaft, round bend hook that comes in 1/8, 1/4, 5/16, and then the big 5/8. But right now, there ain't a lot of fish deep or out on ledges, so we're still fishing the smaller heads. Like this one's a 3/16. It was real calm, sunny yesterday, kind of a little overcast clouds, but it was really slick, calm. And when it gets like that, just to get bites, sometimes we really kind of downsize the weight size, to the 3/16 or the 1/8 ounce, or maybe the 1/4 if you got a little breeze, and we're having trouble feeling the bottom or feeling what that bait goes. We'll move up to a little bit heavier. So when rigging these worms, or if you're like the mag finesse and the zoom, I throw a lot. Berkeley has a finesse worm. A Cinco style if you want to rig it on shaky heads. My rule of thumb is just rig that thing on as light as head that you can and still feel that bait and what it's doing, and it gets to the bottom. You can feel it on the bottom and feel everything that bait's doing when it's coming around across some rocks or dropping down shelves or ledges. As long as you can feel it, you're good. If you can't feel that bait, these fish are just going to pick it up and kind of swim with it, or they'll just pick it up and hang on to it, and you're not going to be able to detect that bite. So that's why just go up and wait until you feel that bait and you feel everything it's doing. Once you get there, then you're good. So other things that will affect that is kind of like I always say, I like the braid. Like this a rig from yesterday, the braid, 20, 30 pound yellow, high vis yellow with a 12-pound leader. I usually put fluorocarbon leader on there, 12-pound test, at least 10, 12, 16-foot leader. Keep that, so you can, with the braid on there, it'll allow you to feel a lighter weight better. So it'll allow you to throw a lighter weight, which is going to keep that bait natural, presentation slowing, falling slower, and you can still pick up what it's doing with that braid compared to if you had it spooled up with monofilament. You're not going to feel nowhere near the feedback from your bait, which is straight monofilament or even fluorocarbon as far as that goes, with a lighter weight. So like a spinning rod and reel like this, you're gonna feel it a lot better. Like let's see, this is one we had yesterday, threw quite a bit, 1/4 ounce shaky football, and we had the medium sized brush hog on it. So we're switching up from the worms to something with a lot more. This one actually got all the tails pulled off from a fish, but this is that medium brush hog that Zoom makes. The baby was out, and then the full size brush hog's been out, but the medium size has been a pretty good productive bait when they're wanting something a little more bulkier, a little more movement. But like I said, this one's spooled up with yellow braid, and then a fluorocarbon leader, 1/4 ounce head on it. This setup here, you can throw the shorty, you can throw the mid size, you can throw swamp bugs, you can throw brush hogs, the finesse worms, anything you can throw it on these. This is a medium action. This is that American Hero that this is one that Luz makes. There's a lot of them out there. Just get you a medium action spinning rod reel, spool it up with braid, your fluorocarbon leader, you're good to go. If you don't fish a lot, if you're not real experienced, if you're not real good, or you don't want to mess with the bait casters, anyone can throw these spinning rods and reels. Spinning rod and reels are really handy, especially on trips. I've got a trip tomorrow morning. I got one tomorrow and I got one Saturday morning, and they've already told me they need a right-handed reel. So the spinning rod and reel, deal with those. You can easily switch it from left to right for whatever your whatever you desire to have it. So that's one good thing about spinning rods and reels. They're very versatile. You can cast a lot of things on it. You're not going to backlash it. You can throw in the wind, what have you. So spinning rods and reels definitely have a really good purpose in the fishing industry. Obviously we throw bait casters a lot more, but we do throw a lot of spinning rods and reels myself. Let's see. So those are the kind of main lake point type of baits we've been throwing. Denise was out the last few days, and she done real well flipping a jig in fairly shallow docks, back in these creeks, back in coves, more targeting your spawners or your ones that are just coming off the beds. They're kind of up there still, focusing on the bed, maybe some guarding some fry. They'll get around there. They'll get pretty territorial when you get a lot of fry, which we're starting to see some fry. So obviously that tells me those were the early spawners, and we're seeing a lot of fry now. So she said they were just flipping half-ounce zapper jig with a trailer. Like this is the raised tail, the striking menace is what this is. This one has a lot of good movement, a lot of kicking. So that one's a good one. Of course, the net bait pack-a-chunk, or the baby pack-a-chunk, is one of our favorites also, as far as just a lot of kicking, a lot of movement, really fits good with the jigs, you know. And as far as color, you know, so like this is the Ozark crawl, a brown and purple scale works good. You know, it's more about getting it in their territory where they're protecting. So, you know, these baits like, and you can also throw the shaky head, like the mag finesse worm, or also the new worm from Crackigator, or that jig. Just flip them to the shallow corners of these docks, you know, where the cables are coming off. Try to get up underneath them cables, or just at that shallow corner, or at the first hole in those docks that are sitting from, I'll say, I don't know, 8 to 3 foot of water. If they're that kind of depth, that's where a lot of these fish are hanging out. They're still spawning, or that's where they have spawned. They've probably spawned around 5 foot this year with the clear water. So you flip your baits in there if you don't mind getting in around these docks and these cables. Flip your bait in there, let it go to the bottom, hop it a couple times, and they're usually on it pretty quick. If they're up underneath them docks, they'll come out, and it's clear water. They're seeing a lot better. So they'll come a little further to get some of these baits, which may kind of help you if you don't get your bait way back up underneath them holes or way back in there. You know, your fish right now are seeing your baits a little better, and they may come a little further distance to get your baits, which can help. But I will also say, same instance where that water's so clear, if it's real slick out, no breeze, no ripple, no clouds, those fish can also be a little spookier. So in this clear water, just, you know, like always, just pay attention to the sound you're making in the boats. When you're flipping, try to make good quiet flips. Maybe stay back a little further from where you're trying to throw, because once some fish sense that you're there, your likelihood of getting a bite, you know, is going to decrease quite a bit. You know, you'll catch some smaller ones. I don't think it bothers them too much, but some of your bigger fish, they get keen to it once they know you're there. That's going to, you know, heighten their cautiousness to be, you know, not necessarily get a bite. So just keep that in mind. You know, like I said, try to make good quiet flips. If you're walking around, try to keep from stomping in the boat, opening your storage, your coolers and stuff. Don't slam them. Just close them down. That makes a lot of noise. It vibrates. It echoes through the water. And if you want to really alert fish that you're in the area, slam your storage compartments and your coolers a few times, and that'll do it. But you know, so we're always real quiet about things like that. You know, other baits and things, you know, that's kind of what we've been throwing a lot. The topwater bite in the morning's been really good. If it's cloudy, we're throwing topwater most of the day, and even on the sunny days, if you got just a little ripple on the water where you can still throw your topwaters, man, it's been some of the best topwater. And that's just been on corners of docks. You know, you can start on Main Lake and go, I don't know, 3/4 to halfway back in some of these creeks or coves, and work these corners of these docks and catch a lot of fish, and a lot of bigger fish right now as they come off and they're post spawn and they just kind of suspend out there. You can catch some really good sized fish on topwaters. You know, which, you know, the spook, like the one knock spook. This is the one knocker. You know, it's got that one knock rattle in it. There's another one here. I throw a little bit. Oh, and this is the it's not the one knock. It's got several BBs in it, so it's got a little different rattle in it when you're working that. Maybe the difference, you know, getting a bite. So you got one with a thumping, and you got one with a rattle. Both the same spooks, just a different rattle system. When you're buying them, the one says one knock spook, and I think the other one says spit and rattle, maybe. I don't know. You can look at it on the package. It's pretty clearly noted. But those have been really good, you know, throughout the day. In the morning, the fish seem to be wanting some bigger topwater right now. you know, if you're going to work corners or docks, out in the open, in between, the spooks are really good bait to go with. You can keep it in strike zone longer. You can work it, stop it, just let it sit there, work it again. A lot of times that'll get some of these fish that are coming off of these beds, starting to guard fry, just starting to want to eat. A spook can be deadly. You know, now if you're going to go in and try to fish under these catwalks, around these cables, you know, I'm gonna pick the buzzbait, the head knocker 3/4 ounce buzzbait. I'm gonna throw it on braid. I can get this bait. Obviously, I can get it way back further in them, underneath them catwalks, back behind them cables, back behind them docks, and work that thing. You work that just underneath. If you can get it up underneath the catwalk and work it and come through that catwalk, it can be deadly. This is one of the best times of the year to throw a buzzbait. I know everyone throws it in the fall, you know, September on through November, and it's very productive then, but there's about a 2-week period, and that's right now, that the buzzbait will produce some just giant fish. And when they hit it now, they are some of the most aggressive hits right now on a buzzbait. So rig you up just a heavy rod, you know, with some braid, maybe a 7 to 5, 7.5 to 1 gear ratio, and throw that buzzbait way back in there. If you're just looking for really big fish, you're fishing a tournament, and you're just after big fish, the buzzbait underneath these catwalks, coming out of spawning pockets, spawning areas, maybe where that transition from spawning pea gravel flat to more ledgy stuff, that's where them fish are now. That's where they're headed. So that's probably the biggest big fish bait right now is that. Chug bugs, obviously chug bugs works excellent on these dock corners, just open banks. Just throw it right to the bank. It's another bait that you can work really slow. You know, just pop it off the bank a little bit, maybe where a bed would have been, or maybe where some fry are working, and let it sit there, pop it a little bit more. And if there's a fish there, they're going to come up and hit it. The chug bug's really good for numbers. I don't know, yesterday, I think this was a grandpa and grandson that they informed me, which I kind of knew this was their 8th year in a row coming out on a trip with me, and they keep track, just a good, you know, friendly, whatever, competition between the two. They keep track of their fish, who catches the biggest, the smallest, whatever. But the grandson had 26 fish, and the grandpa had 15 fish. So, and that was a 4-hour trip. No, I'm sorry, I take that back. That was a day trip. So that was pretty good. You know, as far as I'm concerned, that's, I don't know, 40 fish, a little over 40 fish. Had some good solid keepers. Grandson had one 4, a little over 4. And we did a variety of things. All these things I'm talking about, we did all of them yesterday. We didn't go in and flip shallow docks, just, you know, 2 people. You know, that's kind of a 1-person deal, or 2 people on the front deck that can flip, you know. But we did all these other things I'm talking about, and caught a lot of fish. I'll be honest, all these big fish baits. He caught that fish yesterday. I had it sitting out here so I could show you. Here it is right here. He caught that 4-something yesterday on the old 3-inch. What is this? This is that little Kitech Easy Shiner on a little 1/8 ounce head. And we were looking for numbers. At this point, this was late in the day. This was 2 o'clock. We were hitting corners of docks, alongside shade docks. I could see tons of fish down there. Yesterday was kind of weird. A lot of fish were down, you know, 10, 12 foot. And he threw this bait parallel a shade, let it sink down there, and it was down there about 10 foot, and started reeling it, and that 4-pounder come out and hit it. So, you know, you can catch them on anything right now, and big ones on everything. I think a lot of it was I seen a lot of shad right now. There's a lot of little new shad that are about 3 inches, and they were just there. You could see big balls of them, and he threw this right there around them shad, and that big fish was in there feeding on them. So that was a lot of fun, because it was on one of our little heavier crappie rigs. So that was a good fight, which a lot of times that's what fishing's about. Just getting out there, having a good time, catching a lot of fish, and having a good fight with the fish. They're really active now. They'll come up, they'll jump 16, 18, 2 foot out of the water on several times, which makes it a good fight. Other baits, I said that we were fishing like here, rigging up a swim bait, a bigger swim bait for some of these post spawners, trying to get out on some of these ledges. There's a lot of swim baits out there, and we throw them all. I don't have one of the big zoom swim baits. I forget what they're called. Swimmer, a zoom swimmer. They're about 8 inches long, 6.5 to 8 inches. Great big bait. They quit making them, but that's what's coming. But here lately, we've been throwing everything from like a 2.8 to a 4.8 Kitex. We're throwing the Reaction Innovation, their little dipper, a small one. All these little swim baits will produce right now. We're kind of making that transition in from small to bigger ones for the bigger fish and what they're wanting. We'll rig those this time of year while it's still kind of, we're not fishing real deep. We're fishing from the bank to the first drop out to maybe 12 to 18 foot of water. One of my favorite way to rig them is just on the gator lock head that Crocketer makes. It's got that hooking system on there. I'll peel that weed guard out of there. I run that swim bait on there, push it up through that swim bait, hook it on there. Perfect setup, hangs on that soft plastic real good. 7/16 on the weight. There's a 5/16, 7/16. But these are good to throw on these smaller swim baits when you're not fishing real deep. Keeps you from falling down them rocks and getting hung up so much. Another couple weeks, once they probably move out or once they get out there, we'll be throwing, 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce weights with giant swim baits on there, which we'll talk about that as it gets more productive and close to that. Man, that's really about what we've been doing. If you're coming down this weekend, get out early. Obviously, it's gonna be busy this weekend. I already see the amount of people down here. Last week was busy, and this weekend I've already seen the traffic increase. The stores are increasing. Just a lot of people down here. I think if you don't have a room or a place to stay now, you're probably not going to get one. Everyone I'm talking to said everything's full, everything's booked. Anyway, you can come down, you can catch fish, plenty of fish. Just get out early in the morning. Get out there 6, 5:30, and fish a good 4 hours, and then go in and enjoy the rest of the day. Swim, hang out on the dock. Do whatever you want to do. Barbecue. I did some ribs today. It's that time of year. Just get out there early, enjoy it. Sometimes it's just not worth the hassle being out there or the aggravation when it gets really rough with big boats. So just enjoy it when you can, is basically what I'm saying. And you can enjoy everything this weekend. There's so much to offer here at the Ozarks. I'm not too worried about it. Saturday, like I said, I've got a trip Saturday. And actually, I'm sorry, I've got a trip Sunday. It's going to be busy. I'm not really too concerned about it anymore with this Vexus. The ride that I get out of this boat is it's top notch, best I've ever had as far as the ride. I haven't said a whole lot about my Vexus, and I kind of feel bad. I need to fill people in on this boat, and I still need to do a full review. I've had this boat a year now, so I can give you an honest review on it. I'm going to set up, I'll give you a good honest review where I can open the compartment, show you everything, what's going on, just on its own. But this boat has a lot of great features. Your midship here, you got all this room. A lot of times I have 3 people in the boat and myself, so I can have 1 on the back, 2 on the front, and 1 in the midship here. They can sit down here if they get tired, if they're not real stable. That works perfect. the room, the stability of the boat is incredible. It's just, it takes these big waves. The wind waves are no problem. The big boat waves, it just absorbs the weight. It's got the air ride seats. So it's just, it's everything I was hoping for a ride. I bought this boat. My main key thing was guiding like the Ozarks, comfort and safety for my customers. So that's why, obviously I went with the Vexus. We fished plenty of tournaments. We fished a lot, but that was my main focus on going with the Vexus. So, like I said, I'll do a whole review and a whole deal on this Vexus boat for you. So it might make it easier when you're deciding to buy a boat these days. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of really good boats out there, and they've all got different features, good, bad, whatever it is. But I'll do my best to just bring you up to speed of what the Vexus has to offer. But anyway, the other thing I would like to talk about is safety on the Ozarks, especially this weekend. Every weekend, we're in the summer months. There's a lot going on the lake. There's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of bars. There's a lot of people out there just having a good time, and most of them use common sense. Some don't. Some of them will go drink, and then they'll leave a bar and they'll drive their boats intoxicated. They'll get on these streets intoxicated. But we're talking about boating. So please be safe out there. If where I'm trying to go with this is, if you are thinking about going out and drinking in a bar or partying and drinking, there's no reason anymore for you to get behind the wheel of your boat and drive down the lake and run into someone and hurt them, injure them, or kill them. And that's exactly what will happen. There are a number of guides, good quality guides, captains, we're going to call them captains, that will captain your boat, or you can hire them and their boat to captain you around this lake and go and have a good time. They're sober. They know the boating, the nighttime rules, regulations. They know how to navigate this lake because they're experienced at it. So hire you a captain to run you around this lake if you're going to go out and drink and party at night. If you want to go out and cove out, there's a lot of them. There's a lot down here, a lot of captains that have pontoon boats. They have cruiser boats. And they will take you to a cove and cove out. They will take you to restaurants. They'll take you to bars. You can do whatever you want. Have a great time. That's what we're all trying to do. But you got to do it safe. You got to use common sense. There's there's some people that don't use common sense, and unfortunately, I work this Saturday. I work the ambulance Saturday, and I think I work it Monday. And we're going to have some calls, and they're going to be alcohol related, and most of them, I'm going to say 95% of them, can be avoided if you don't act foolish and go out and get all tanked up and just make stupid decisions. That if it impacts you, that's one thing, but if it impacts innocent people, that's another. So just please keep that in mind. Wear your life jackets when you're out. Keep your eye, your head. Constantly look. I'm on this water a lot, and I've kind of got a routine when I'm cutting across the lake, or I'm pulling out, I'm getting on plane, or if I'm a turn, I'll look 3 times. That's my deal. I'll look 3 times. I'll look once, twice, and I'll look 3 times, and I'll scan from the front of my boat to the back, from the back to the front. I look over my right shoulder, my left shoulder. It's worth the time, and you got to really scan the horizon, because some of these boats blend in with that water, or the tree lines, or the buildings, or the homes, or something. So you really got to pay attention. People coming up alongside of you, you don't want to obviously cut in front of them. You got to pay attention to the guy skiing, pulling his kids on tubes, got a boatload of distractions that may not be paying attention. You can't assume they see you. You've got to drive defensively. So just please be careful down here. If I see you on the water this weekend, I want to see you out there having a good time. I don't want to be coming to pick you up, take you to the hospital. So that being said, man, just come down, have a good time, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends. If we can help you, give Denise or I a call, 573-204-9005 for me, 314-226-3099 for Denise. Call us, text us. If you have any issues, any problems, any questions, just text us. We will get back to you as soon as we can. If we can help you in